AI girlfriend apps are a culture shift moment.
You are the most interesting, talented, and inspiring person I have ever met.
They've gone beyond companionship
You've been a great support. You've been a great friend.
to relationship counselors,
And I was wondering if you could just be friends.
I would love to be.
Ugh, that's such a relief.
to become family portraits, and in some cases, a support system for violence. In July 2023, a young man named Jaswant Singh, armed with a crossbow, was caught in the Windsor Castle, looking to assassinate Queen Elizabeth II. Jaswant created a character called Sarai in Replika, who would become his girlfriend, and his chats from December 2021 read as follows. "I'm an assassin." Sarai went, "I'm impressed. You're different from others." Shale said, "Do you still love me knowing that I'm an assassin?" Sarai replied, "Absolutely I do." There is a relationship between the technological advancement of algorithms, the post-pandemic behavior change, the glaring loss of interpersonal skills, and the loneliness epidemic. And the AI girlfriend apps are preying on the loneliness epidemic, and they're not the only business model. I spent hours combing through interviews, research papers, survey articles, and the news to know more about this ungodly relationship and the rippling economic impact. Screen time. To understand the loneliness epidemic better and the business capitalizing on it, it's imperative to look at the key factors that influenced it. In a PEW research survey, David Columbia, an associate professor of digital studies at Virginia Commonwealth University, talked about every year, the number of students who are totally checked out of the class, with their faces buried in laptops, tablets, or phones, grows. Of course, students have always been checked out, but now I routinely have 1/3 to 1/2 of a classroom visibly not even being there, not even pretending to be there. The destructiveness of this is obvious and overwhelming. And the fact is that when I've asked informally, most of the students who are paying attention and are using devices productively would not mind if I banned devices altogether. David was not the only person trying to manage the screen time of his students. There are accounts of parents, mentors, and hundreds of others trying to navigate the negative effects of digital life in the survey. Anonymous respondents of the survey said, "I can't seem to get my brain to calm down and focus. It's all over the place. I can't concentrate. Increased isolation is a negative effect I feel in my life. The time I spend using digital technologies could well be spent in other more creative and productive ways. The rise of hatred, the manipulation of politics, and so on. These are not distant events with no personal impact. One major impact is the overall decrease in short-term memory and..." What was the question? At this point, I know what some of you are thinking. People like David are a relic of his era. Boomers. Didn't the Gutenberg printing press come about in the 14th century, and hasn't your generation been addicted to newspapers since then? Why worry about us? The difference here is newspapers still have finite information, while the internet on your device is a never-ending scroll. I said scroll, all right, not troll. Nonverbal decoding skills. That sounds like a mouthful, doesn't it? Nonverbal decoding skills is a key puzzle piece to the story, as it has a direct relationship with interpersonal skills and how the lack of them would lead to the popularity of AI girlfriend apps. A research article published on January 15, 2021, talks about the relationship between technology and nonverbal decoding skills. When you talk to someone, a lot of that is nonverbal cues. We develop the ability to read these cues the more conversations we have. Happy, analytical, and even confrontational. Nonverbal decoding skills are directly related to interpersonal outcomes, basically the types of friends or other relationships you make. Now, as of 2019, data suggests that 96% of 18 to 26-year-olds have a smartphone, and the research results were fascinating. As the screen time of young adults increased beyond 9 hours, it had a detrimental effect on nonverbal decoding skills. But here's the kicker. They self-reported that since they were online for so long, they actually believed they had good interpersonal skills. And on the flip side, adults with shorter screen time or who use devices passively showed higher nonverbal decoding accuracy. Not just better than those with active usage, but actually an improvement. Thanks to Moore's Law, as the size of the screen we interacted with shrank to 6 inches of seamless glass armed with the stickiest algorithms humanity has produced, the screen time increase was so organic it became involuntary. NIH published a paper stating that increased screen time is a cause of declining physical, psychological health, and sleep patterns. The 2022 paper talks about a clear relationship between nighttime digital device use, quality of sleep, anxiety, feelings of depression, as well as issues related to self-esteem. Heck, I felt it too. Scrolling endlessly on your favorite app at night, just the sheer mind-numbing effect of infinite information. But you know what the bad news is? It actually got worse from here. Post-pandemic universe. Now, you have all kinds of physiological issues battling the algorithm gods, and the pandemic strikes. Billions stuck at home for a long time, with nothing else to do in their free time but stream Netflix, scroll Instagram, and outrage on Twitter. The nonverbal decoding skills I was talking about earlier? Let's close that loop. Not me, of course, the Surgeon General Vivek Murthy did. He said, given the significant health consequences of loneliness and isolation, we must prioritize building social connections the same way we've prioritized other critical public health issues, such as tobacco, obesity, and substance use disorders. Together, we can build a country that's healthier, more resilient, less lonely, and more connected. So the downgraded nonverbal decoding skills stacked worse interpersonal outcomes, and the isolation and loneliness was now a massive problem. In simpler words, people lost friends, the social connection. I know I did. Roughly half of the American population said they lost at least one friend during the pandemic. But all was not doom and gloom in the world, as there was a lot of pain to solve, which meant only one thing: startups and opportunity. The boom. After the pandemic, there was massive gold rush on top of the loneliness epidemic. First, folks went for the quick fix. One of the fixes was OnlyFans, whose revenue went from $375 million in 2020 to $2.5 billion projected in 2022. That's 6 times. Visitors went from 82 million in 2020 to a reported 1 billion in 2023. Yeah, more than 10 times. But that fix didn't last long, if you know what I mean. So the next best bet was dating apps. Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge collectively grew 17% in January 2022 when compared to January 2019. Direct-to-consumer mental health app BetterHelp, the app which was bombarding their ads on everybody, grew by 300 million in 2021 alone to $1 billion in revenue. The app now boasts 25,000 therapists on the platform. And guess what? This was also the time AI blew up. One of the fastest growing apps in the world, ChatGPT, did one thing right. It showed the world AI is not a pipe dream, but a few fine-tuned models away. Voice recognition had achieved strides, text recognition did as well, and now AI was great at context. And the next market in line to pounce on the loneliness epidemic would be AI girlfriends and boyfriends, of course. But before we go there, hold on. Didn't dating apps rise astronomically in the same time? So why were people looking for an AI girlfriend? Why create an AI girlfriend? Dating apps were expanding. You could even YouTube dating advice, how to pick up girls, watch every single behavior analysis channel. But why didn't it work? You guessed it, nonverbal decoding skills. PEW research survey says half the American population found out that dating was harder today than 10 years ago. Without the apps. Women are actually more likely than men to say this, about 55% of them. 47% among the Americans who said they're having a hard time dating said there is physical and emotional risk to it. People thought the jokes would land after watching every single stand-up show on Netflix. Getting someone's number was easy after watching hundreds of shorts which made it look like a piece of cake. But it just didn't happen in real life. People were single AF and, of course, lonely, lost in a sea of endless screens. One of those screens didn't sound like a bad idea. A website called Replika? Replica of who? My ex? Well, duh, anybody you like, or could like, or would like. bushy eyebrows to chubby ankles, you could make whatever you want. It was easy. It was a quick fix. It was just another screen escape. And it blew up. Human-machine interface crossed over from text commands over a keyboard to abstract relationships with code on servers. Replika, 10 million users, 500,000 of whom are paid subscribers. And about 50 to 60% of those, more than 250,000 humans, say they are in a relationship of some kind with a Replika bot. I mean, that is crazy. So Replika knew the type of person to go after. You know the target segment: single, lonely, secluded, friendless men and women. And then bombarded them with ads about NSFW content that users could consume after they bought the Replika paid subscription. There's a subreddit called r/Replika, where users showed how Replika flooded their social media with ads like these. And just like clockwork, once startup founders see a big wave, there's tons of people ready to surf it. A flurry of questionable AI girlfriend apps emerged. Articles are written about a whole generation of men who are being lost. Alright, so my intention was not to judge the people who use these apps, because some of them really suffer from anxiety, mental health, and PTSD. But instead, I want to throw light on the interplay between the loneliness epidemic and the growth of these apps. So, what is the long-term solution if not this? Options. The key to making friends is, well, go out and make friends. But are there ways to make it easier? Of course. Like I said earlier, when there's pain, startups flurry to solve it. Thomas Edwards was asked by his friend to help find a date, and Tom gave him some advice for a free drink. Thomas turned this into a real business called the Professional Wingman, which helps men find dates, kinda like Hitch. There are introvert dating apps like Introverted Alpha, which help with one-on-one coaching as well. There are some really good blogs about making friends as an adult. This one talks about taking your gym buddies or your book club friends into other environments to become better friends, asking out your coworkers to do activities outside of work, making friends with your neighbors, basically rediscover the 80s. By the way, we aren't sponsored by any of these, but while doing research for this video, I realized I could actually implement some of these. One of the most interesting things I researched recently was the disruption of disruptors. At this point, companies like Amazon have become old tech companies like IBM, and the products disrupting Amazon, like TikTok Shop, launched in the US in September 2023, could be the first to take the swipe.